Who is ready for a quick, easy, and budget-friendly no-sew project to use up some of those fabric scraps? This girl is, and I made a few so I can tell you how to do this the easiest and most efficient way. So these are salad-sized plates from the Dollar Tree. You can use any kind of clear glass. So that's obviously the first thing you need is a plate. One thing that's super important is you need to get all that sticker off and all the sticky off. And I'm going to show you how to do that using lemon essential oils. Or if you don't have that, you can use Glue Gun or anything else you use to get rid of adhesive. Then you're going to need Mod Podge. I am trying out this newest one, which is dishwasher-safe. I applied it with a sponge brush. You can also use a soft bristle brush. The main thing you need to remember about this is you have to wait 28 days before putting it in the dishwasher, and it has to go on the top rack. Those are the two most important things to remember. Then you're going to need rubbing alcohol to do your final cleaning of your plate. This is going to help get all the rest of any dirt and debris and also any oils from your hands. Some cotton rounds to use with the Glue Gun or lemon essential oils and the rubbing alcohol. And then finally, scissors. And I recommend small fabric scissors. Those are the main things that we need. I'm sure I'll think of something else, but I'll talk about it as we go. Let's get into the project. First step, cleaning. You have to get this sticker off. And you probably have the similar issue that I do. You scrape as much as you can. Some of it comes off, some of it stays on. And then there's always that nasty little, I don't know, sticky residue on there. You know, I get it. They don't want us to be able to move labels from one product to another, but it does get a little frustrating when you can't get the darn things off. Okay, that one came off really, really badly. So let me show you what I do with lemon oil, or you can use Glue Gun or any other kind of anti-stick thing. I just put a couple drops on there, let it sit for a minute. And then because there's still a bit of paper and it's not just the residue, I'm going to try and get that paper off with my fingers. And it smells delicious in here. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I got that off, and then I'm just going to use the cotton round and wipe, and there is zero stickiness left on there. You don't want anything left on there because it will affect the glue, and you'll see it through the fabric because you're going to be seeing the fabric through the bottom of the plate, so you don't want any kind of nonsense on there. Now you also want to have washed your plate. The most important part that really needs to be clean is the back, because that's where we're going to be putting our fabric. So after you have washed it, you want to grab some rubbing alcohol. Now, I also recommend do not put lotion on your hands right before this project, because any oils that you get on the glass will show through if they're still on there. And that is why we are using rubbing alcohol as our last cleaning step. And we're just going to wipe over the entire plate, because that will remove any remaining dirt or oils marks from your hands. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a tape measure. When you're determining the size, you can do it one of two ways. You can put the plate down on the fabric and just make sure you have about 1 inch on all sides. That is going to be more than enough to cover it when you smooth it down and you account for the lip. Otherwise, you can take a tape measure and you can measure across the back, and you're going to measure across. So it goes from 1 to 9, so that is 8 inches with accounting for the top and the bottom. So this is about a 9-inch square. This is a great project for fabric scraps. So we have our clean plate, we have our fabric. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply our Mod Podge. We're going to apply this on the entire back. It's really important in this step to make sure those edges are nice and wet when we smooth the fabric on there so that it won't pop up. So you need to work pretty quickly. You also want to pay attention to your brush strokes, because you will see the direction that this glue is applied even when it's dried. So I try and go like in circles or in straight lines on the top, and then work my way around like this, the direction of the plate. And you want enough that it's not going to dry on you before you get your fabric on there, but you don't want big white, thick white clumps like that. So you want to have it pretty even, and really, again, pay attention to the edge of the plate to make sure we have enough for that fabric to stick. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. Now we need to really quickly put the fabric on, pretty side down. And press that down and then just smooth it down the edges of the plate. And you're just going to work it with your fingers to get those air bubbles out. And sometimes you can kind of see spots that aren't sticking really well, so you might want to get a little bit more and just lift it and put a little bit more under there. We just really want to make sure those edges are sticking down nicely. So once I have it mostly spread out, I kind of pick it up and really try and press the fabric over the edges. Okay, now I'm going to put something under it just to lift it, because I did discover that if you leave it sitting totally on a vinyl, see how these have white marks? It actually glued so hard to my vinyl that it picked that brown up and was on the plate. Thankfully, the plate was turned the other direction. It happened on this rim, but you want to make sure you don't have anything unexpected adhering with this glue. Now we're just going to take and we're going to coat it one more time on the back. And then you're going to let this dry for 1 to 2 hours or more if you want to, but at least 1 to 2 hours. And then we're going to come back and we're going to cut the fabric, and then you can do a few more coats. Now you can either wash your brush in hot soapy water in between each application, or what I like to do is I just put it in a plastic bag. And here's one from when I was doing my test once. So I just find a little plastic bag, a Ziploc, or you could put it in an airtight container with a lid if you don't want to use plastic. And that will keep this nice and moist throughout the day as you're coming back and adding more layers. So I'll just put this in there. Now that the Mod Podge is dry, the next step is to cut the fabric. So I've tried it a couple ways. I've tried running my rotary cutter around it, but it didn't get quite close enough. I've tried big fabric scissors. This is the key to success. Use small fabric scissors. Now I would recommend, if you're going to make a lot of these, maybe get Mod Podge scissors, because you will hear it crunch a little bit, or after you use it, definitely clean your scissors. I'm not sure how much having a little bit of that on the edge of the fabric will affect the sharpness of your scissors, but just, a little warning. I know we're all very particular about how our fabric scissors are used. So what you're going to do is you're just going to come in here and you're going to cut as close to that edge as possible. Kind of angle your scissors like this a little bit. We don't want any fabric coming beyond the plate. So you want to do your best on the first go round, but then we can always clean up any spots that are hanging over a little bit too much. Now let's take a closer look, and I can see, like right there, I can see fabric over the edge. So I'm just going to come back in and cut that away, and I'm just going to go all the way around, and anywhere I see any that are popping out where we don't want them, we're just going to trim those off. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Then you want to look on this side and just see if it looks like a pretty good circle. If there's any spots that are sticking out a little bit, like right here, it's a little bit bubbled. So I'm going to come back on the other side and I'm going to trim that again. You see how you can kind of see the brush marks that I did on the original coating, where it was right where we were coating right on the glass. So that is why it is important to make sure it's not a complete mess. You can, use whatever texture or pattern you want to have in there. Now all that's left is to do a few more coats of the Mod Podge on the back. They recommend probably at least 2. So you want to do like 2 to 3. This time I'm going to sit it on top of a bowl, so it's a little bit higher. And you do want to make sure you get the glue really nicely on that edge, but don't go over the front of your plate. If you do, just wipe that off with your finger. Try and catch that before it dries. So I always start by doing the edges of the plate first and then work to the center. And just like the last times, you don't want to have thick spots. You want to have it pretty evenly coated, because when this is dry and you have a couple coats on there, it is going to be a little bit rough. I've seen some people say that they sand it at the end. Okay, we're going to let that dry and then just come back, do another coat or 2, and then this plate will be all done. And we're back for one more coat. All right, so I'm really curious about how you will use your plates that you make. Are you going to use them for yourself, for gifts, for plants, for snacks, for display? Let me know in the comments below. And be sure to tag me if you post any of these on social media, because I would love to see what you create, what size, what fabrics you choose, etc., etc. And of course, you can use this same technique with paper, with children's artwork, any kind of material that you're going to be able to glue and shape to a plate. You don't have to do fabric, but I think it is a fantastic way to use up your fabric scraps, a good no-sew project, and I hope you enjoy it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more sewing and no-sew projects in the future.